Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitattvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakhatvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are coming to the final talk of this series today and on self-realization. So I'm going to summarize the essence of involved, what is involved, and what are the important steps in this self-realization. This is essentially summary of the whole series, but this is just a summary. One has to go and listen to the talk in order to know what is involved. So basic first step is preparing the mind. So one has to be prepared. The prerequisites for self-realization or prerequisites for Vedanta, or Vedanta means ultimate highest truth. Realization of the highest truth is Vedanta. And what is that required? You need a prepared mind, because if I try to do it, my mind gets agitated and running all over, and I will not even have the interest to listen to Vedanta. So that's called the lowest category of the people, because my mind is always how I can become happy by doing this, doing like people searching for the 10th man all over the place. And this, in order to prepare the mind, I need to have a proper sadhana. So it's not conditioning the mind, mind is already conditioned going after things because when I say my happiness is here, my happiness is there, it's already conditioned. That is the conditioning. Because I'm searching for happiness, I'm searching for all over the place. Where I search for happiness is different from where you search for happiness. That's what essentially vasanas, my desires are different from your desires, because fulfilling desires gives me happiness. So in order to get the mind to start listening to Vedanta, to see what is the involved, because the one has to examine by knowing that these pursuits will not give me what I want. That is a useless pursuit, because I want something highest reward and I cannot get by these investments. So I have to withdraw all my investment from there and put it in place where I can get maximum returns. That is a common sense. And that withdrawing process is essentially involved in Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. These are yogas are yoking the mind to something higher, so that in the process I am withdrawing. I cannot yoke the mind something unless its mind is available to yoke it. So I have to withdraw the mind. It's called Sannyasa Yoga. Sannyasa means renunciation, Yoga means attachment. So it is attachment detachment technique. How do I get attached? I had to have something higher to attach myself to leave the lower. So being the highest one is the Ishvara. For other people, I want to study, that becomes I want to get a first class. That is a goal. That is a higher goal than playing outside and wasting my time. So I have to withdraw my energies from that and invest in terms of the higher goal, and that goal is not going to be agitating, it may be concentrating. Chitta ekagrata will be coming there. Higher the goal, higher the intensity of the effort required, and also higher energy also I get from the goal itself. That's why people call Mahatma Gandhi a puny man who can't even walk or talk properly, could bring the whole country together, and only because of the goal is the highest goal that unites the whole everybody. If the goal is the highest goal is the self-realization or God realization, then the goal itself can provide the energy, provided I am concentrating on that. So Karma Yoga involves bringing the Ishvararpita Buddhi. So that which is karma becomes a bondage before. Ishvararpitam nechaya krutam chitta sodakam mukti sadakam. This is from the Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, Ishvara Arpita Buddhi, Karma Yoga helps in terms of the mental quietness required for contemplation. So if the mind is agitated in terms of varieties of activities, rajasic mind, what do? Say, you should not have desires. That's a useless advice because I already have them. So bring the Ishvara and give the desires to him. That means whatever your desires are, fulfilling as a prayer to the Lord, then the mind becomes calm and quiet. So Karma Yoga helps in terms of purifying the mind. And Karma Yoga requires Ishvara, because Ishvararpita Buddhi is Karma Yoga. It means I am offering everything to the Lord. If I am offering everything to the Lord, the action should be the best. Because I cannot make lousy laddus, and since Ishvara doesn't complain, I want to give it to him. It's not that way. If I want to give laddus, if I have laddus to desire, make the best laddus in the world and offer it to the Lord, then it becomes Naivedyam, Nivedanam. That's called Kainkaryam. And when after that it comes back, fortunately God doesn't eat everything because he is already full. So therefore you have to distribute that prasadam to everybody. It becomes a prasadam. Before that it is Naivedyam. When you are offering, it is a Naivedyam. When it comes from Lord, it's called prasadam. It's called prasada buddhi. So if it is not only laddu, whatever I do is offer it to them. Yat karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad juhoshi, dadasi yatu, yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushvadarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, offer it to me. That is what instruction by the God himself, and that becomes Ishvara Arpita Buddhi. That you have to do throughout your life. Whatever you do, offer it to him. Whatever you do, everything is nothing but Ishvara. Whatever you eat also, Ashnasi, whatever you eat, offer it to him. That attitude makes the mind non-reactive and therefore prepares the mind, and that preparation of the mind is required, and there are 4 qualifications of the mind that is required for the highest. That's called the Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi, Shatka Sampatti and Mumukshutvam, strong desire to learn. These are the basic requirements to pursue. Whether I have it completely or not, if I start listening to Vedanta, slowly I will get those things also to the degree. That's a basic preparation. Now we go into this is called Upasana also, the prayer to the Lord, doing rituals, all those mental meditations and Ishvara meditation, Ishvara, all Japa Yoga, the Gayatri Japam, all these are meant for preparation of the mind. And that is required in order to go. Then we are talking about the basic fundamental 3 steps for self-realization. That's all, 3 steps. Very, very simple. What is that? First you should know who are you. Second you should know what is the Lord. And third you should know what is the relation between. That's called Tvam Padartha Vichara, Tat Padartha Vichara and Asi Padartha Vichara. Asi means equation between the two. This has to be understood clearly. It's a clear knowledge that is required. That is the essential, not going somewhere everything. It is I am already full and I need to know that I am already full because I am taking myself what I am not as I am. So therefore I need to know who am I, what is this Lord, and what is this world, and what's my relationship. God includes the world, and what's my relationship with the world. These are the 3 fundamental steps. Number 1, who am I? Means Tvam Padartha Vichara. So Tvam Padartha means who am I? We gave the indication that who are you? If anybody asks, you will say I am this, I am this, I am this. So everyone without exception introduces that I am this. That seems to be the fundamental problem. That's how we started this talk series. I am is a subject and this is an object. I cannot be a this. This is an inert entity. I am a conscious entity. This is an inert entity. This is an object. I am a subject. Subject cannot be objectified. That's the definition of subject. Object is something that I am conscious of. Therefore, anything that I am conscious of, I cannot be, because I am the one subject, and that which is being conscious of is an object for me. So this is removing everything that I am not. Because I am identifying myself, I am this, so I am not this, not this, not this. So neti neti means not this, excluding myself, identification with this, and re-identify myself as I am the subject and not the object. So, neti neti exclusion, or I am not this, I am not this. So-called who am I inquiry, where I am rejecting everything what I am not, is only in terms of first part, that is Tvam Padartha Vichara, that is step number 1. That itself requires a lot of meditation, because I easily identify, so okay, I am not that, I am not that. Again, I am identified with some concept, because mind cannot but associate with something identifiable. That is a problem. The problem is, I may say, oh, that's why it's objectless awareness people talk about, but I cannot recognize objectless awareness. Objectless awareness, pure Satchidananda, doesn't need anything. The statement that it is objectless awareness is true. But when I say I am identifying object, not because it is objectless, because I cannot but identify, I cannot recognize myself without the objectification. So using the object, I had to lift my cognitively, intellectually, I had to shift my attention from the object to that because of which I am conscious of the object. That's what is essentially shifting my attention from the object this to subject I am. That is involved in the who am I inquiry. That is the step number 1. Step number 2 is what is that? So I am dealing with the world outside. If I sit in the meditation and realize that yes, I have realized, then how long it is? When I come back, again I am back into the world. I cannot avoid this. That is the problem. I cannot avoid starting from the body. The body will be a problem. The mind will be there. And the intellect will be there. I cannot but use. It's not mindless state. Mindless state is only some samadhi state, that where there is no objectless, that is in the Patanjali Yoga. But Patanjali himself is Advaitin only, not Advaitin. So what he still came back again and back to all the thoughts and everything botheration. So thoughts are a problem, then thoughts will be a problem. And you cannot but think when you come back into the world. So you are only realized in meditation state, not outside. Realization is independent of whether you are thinking or not thinking. So I should know what are the thoughts. The thoughts is nothing but locus in the object. So what are the object? Objects is nothing but the whole world. So what is the whole world? What is the whole world? The whole science are investigating what is the nature of the world. How did the world come into picture? What is the source of the universe? And that's what the scientist is trying to investigate, only objective world, forgetting the subject that who is investigating. He thinks that's the whole thing. The problem is that has to be understood, but he will never understand the way Vedanta talks about, because he is only looking at an objective tools to investigate the objective world. Then what do you need? For that only Vedanta says it is nothing but pure consciousness which appears as the object. That comes from the Vedanta. It says Tadaichata Bahusyam Tada Eti, that he himself became many. So Lord we are bringing, now we are looking at the Ishvara. Who is the Ishvara? Who is Lord? Lord is nothing but the whole entire universe. That vision I had to develop now as the second step. What's the second step? This is a bhakti and this is a jnanam also, where Ishvara darshanam is nothing but the whole universe darshanam. The prapancha darshanam is Ishvara darshanam. So where do I see Ishvara? Not only in the temple, anywhere, everywhere I had to but develop an attitude of seeing the Lord. That makes the mind pure, because I cannot but see the glory of the Lord in everywhere. In the 10th chapter of Gita, Krishna gives what are the vibhuti, only he points out the greatness of the Lord. And says this itself is unlimited, because anything that you find is great is me. And that Krishna, Arjuna thinks only those are good. But in the 11th chapter, he shows everything, not only good, bad also. That's why in the Vishwarupa, you see gods on one side and the demons are also one side. That's also Lord only. So the whole universe, everything plus minus, good, bad, everything is in the universe. So he is everything. but my attention should be higher for my purification. That's why I had to look in the direction which is purified. So therefore, I had to start looking at the Lord Ishvara presence in everywhere, including the terrorists. But at the same time, when I'm transacting in the world, I have to transact properly. Gods are different from terrorists. So terrorists has to be dealt with in the same situation that they deserve. So that's exactly what even a scientist does. Scientist knows that everything is nothing but electrons, protons and neutrons. At the same time, he treats a delicious food is different from a stinking garbage. Both are electrons, protons and neutrons. Doesn't mean that he is going to eat the electrons, protons and neutrons. One Dvaitin was advising me, hey, you are an Advaitin, everything is nothing but one. So don't take poison instead of the Amrit, the coffee or something else. So obviously he doesn't understand what Advaita is. So coffee is coffee, Amrita, both are electron, protons or neutron. Doesn't mean that I had to drink poison and leave the delicious food. So discrimination at the transactional level is different from understanding the unity at the transactional level. So I can have the vision of unity, at the same time the diversity. So Ishvara Darshanam becomes a second step in the process of evolution as a part of self-realization. Self-realization, not only realizing who am I, what is this world? So I called Advaita is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. I have to understand the superficial nature of the names and forms by seeing in and through the essence. That's what Upanishad is talking about. Aijadatme dagam sarvam tat satyam sa atma sa vigyeyaha. This essence of the whole thing, nothing but pure sat only, pure existence that was there before creation, and it became many because it is existent consciousness that became many. So I should develop a vision as a practice. Second step in practice is look everything as Ishvara Darshanam. For that, a frame of mind has to be developed. When I'm dealing in the transactions with all the raga dveshas are coming in, it's difficult to maintain that vision that I'm dealing with the Ishvara. But to the degree that you can, Ishvara can be dealt, Ishvara has to be dealt in the form of a friend, Ishvara has to be dealt in the form of an enemy also, properly. Just like Krishna dealt with. Krishna knows everything is him only. He shows as Vishwarupam. At the same time, he was not sparing anybody, punishing Kamsa, everybody else on the way that are violating dharma. So he gives an example how one should live as a jnani. Also, as a practice of jnanam, also this should be a second step in developing the Ishvara Darshanam is important step in the self-realization. So the first one is the who am I inquiry. The second version is who is Ishvara or what is this Lord. This is tam padartha, tat padartha vicharam. Tvam padartha vicharam and tat padartha vicharam. And the final one, the third step is the equation between the aham and the world. World exclusion of not the names and forms. Names and forms are different. I am different from the chair is different. But from the point of view existent consciousness, it is one and the same. So Asi part, the oneness that pervades both the self and the world has to be developed as a vision, as the training, because by constantly meditating on the truth that is being pointed out, this is what the truth that is pointed out by Vedanta. So this world is nothing but mithya, that means superficial. But in and through superficial, the substantive, the adhara is nothing but the truth, that is I am. So I am the subject and this is the object, but I am also the object that is appearing as many. The subject-object reality is only in the mind only, both are thoughts. How is this occur? We have gone through the several steps of understanding this process, because every object when I perceive forms a thought in my mind, and the thought in my mind is nothing but the existence of the object is transferred as though existence of the thought in the mind. And the thought in the mind is revealed by the consciousness that I am, by shedding light of my consciousness, and the consciousness only getting reflected. Thought goes back into the mind only. It's only a perturbation, appearance only, but appearance is recorded by the consciousness, and I say I am seeing the thought, therefore I am knowing the thought, therefore I am knowing the object. So the whole world is now reduced to thought. Thoughts are nothing but in the consciousness. Consciousness is that I am, and I am the very substratum for the whole universe itself. That is the Asi Padartham, has to be meditated on and recognized in the presence of every thought that arises. Pratibodha viditam matam. You are conscious of every thought, therefore it is in your consciousness. And this has to be practiced. And the more you practice, more one is evolved into that, more one abides into this. Always distractions will be there. One has to come back to the world and transact. And you cannot but transact, and there always superficial raga dveshas are there. It has to be there, because even though I know everything is one thing, everything is electron, protons, neutrons. I said we take delicious food. Even in the delicious food, my body and mind have been trained to eat particular type of food habitually. And I cannot take other type of food that my body will not react. Oh, everything is nothing but electron, proton, or everything is delicious food. But even there, my raga dveshas are coming in. I like this, I don't like that. Hey, you are also having like that and like that, I am also having. What's the difference? Only thing is, I do not depend. If it comes, good. If there is a buffet there, I go and select what I like only, and don't select what I don't like. Hey, why don't you take this? Oh, no, I don't like it. So you also have likes and dislikes, yes. But that is different from I have to have only that for me, otherwise I won't eat. Then it is my dependence on that is there. So whatever that comes on the way, I can be selective in many things that are coming in. If there are many things. If there are no many things, then I have to take whatever that comes. That's because part of my prarabdha. So a jnani will accept whatever comes. He doesn't get agitated unnecessarily. So dukkeshu anudvignamanaha sukeshu vigataspruhaha vitaraga bhayakrodaha sitadhir muniruchyate. The one who is reveling in that state, he sees the whole world as a drama and as a Jagannatakam, means the whole world is world stage, and he plays his role better than anybody else because he has nothing to worry about. The whole is drama anyway. Even if he is suffering, is also part of the drama only. So therefore, he doesn't get worried about it. So, but initially, because of the habits, even the jnani gets worried, but that the frequency of that worries and the intensity of the worries and the recovery time from the worries goes down. It's called F, the frequency, I, intensity, and recovery time. So FIR gets slowly reduced. It is nothing, it will never become a zero. So even in deathbed, a jnani will have the raga dveshas that are superficially, but they are become a bhushanam for him. It's considered as a bhushanam. So those vasanas are only the snakes where the fangs have been removed. That's why it's called Pannaga Bhushanam. The Lord Shiva is called Pannaga Bhushanam because not that his vasanas, the fangs have been removed. He is decorating himself with that. So what is Pannagam? Is nothing but vasanas. And the Lord Vishnu is sleeping on it. And all the seven hoods, nothing means 5 senses and the mind and the intellect. The 7-hood snake now looking inwards towards the Lord, not outside, looking inwards towards the Lord. That's called Adisesha. And he is lying down on that comfortably without any problem. And with the Lakshmi massaging. So you think the Lakshmi massaging, the whole world is massaging him at the feet of the great master, and that's essentially what implication of this. So this self-realization is a continuous process, and it's a process where one has to slowly abide into the knowledge. So not knowing one thing is one aspect, but the knowledge has to sink into the mind as indeed it is true. So there will always be obstacles, and there will always be in the process of evolution. So one should never give up. And the most important thing, as Krishna says, this, once you are in this path, you never go back again. Even if you make a detour, it comes back again, because once the Vedanta sinks in, whether you realize in this life or not, you will be born in the next life with all this background. So you don't have to start from the zeros from the first stage again. You will be continuously, you will be led to because of your past, led to the rapid growth, and that's what Krishna assures in the chapter. So in the Gita he says, you will be born in a conducive environment for your rapid growth. And you can see a lot of Mahatmas, suddenly they spring up, and including Ramana Maharshi. Until then he was teenager, he was normal, and suddenly some death occurred, triggered his mind, and realized he wants to know something higher. So all these things, the indication says is there was a knowledge before, and Upanishads give several examples where in the Vamadeva he has realized he took a birth in the womb, but not coming out of the womb, because that itself is enough for him, the obstacle, and he has realized in the womb itself, because the knowledge comes to him back. The knowledge that has gained in the previous sloka. There is another Jadabharata story. It took few more lives in order to get back, because that once the Vedantic knowledge comes in, you never get lost. So you have the 3 steps, Tat, Tvam, Asi. These are the indication of who am I, what is this world, and what's my relation to the world. This has to be completely clear to the degree that it will express myself in all my transactions, not just the intellectual knowledge, but it is a practical knowledge that is helpful for even during the life itself. And even after that, if not possible, it says contemplate on that Aham Brahmasmi itself as a meditation, where we are talking about tuning the mind towards the higher. What about Samadhi? So, what about Samadhi? Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, one who has equal vision of everything. So once I realize whether Lord himself is everything, Yomam Pasyati Sarvatra Sarvancha Mai Pasyati, who sees me everywhere and everything in me. So there is nothing other than Lord only. Or Sarvabhutastamatmanam Sarvabhutani Chamatmani, who sees himself everywhere and everything in himself. These 2 slokas come one after the other, and shows that they are not really different. Either you see the Lord everywhere, or you see yourself everywhere. That is essentially Tattvamasi part, and that has to be recognized, and constant practice on that, lifelong practice, never giving up. The more and more one does, the more one abides in that, the more one gets established in that. And in between there will be always some deviations and perturbations will always be there, but one who has understood, he immediately gets back and quickly gets back, and that is a part of lifelong process. This self-realization for every one of us. And it's not meant for evaluating other people. Is he self-realized? Is he a Mahatma? Is he Jnani? That should not be done, because there is no way you can evaluate anybody else. Assume everybody realize if you want, or just don't go there if you think it is not. So wherever satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatattvam, nischalatatve jivanmuktaha. Having a satsang where mind with the same thoughts is a satsang. Otherwise, mind where you have Vedantic discussion going on, that becomes satsang. Where mind continuously involved in either writing, teaching, reading, everything completely, that becomes a nididhyasana, that becomes a sadhana, that becomes the real meditation, and that is what has to be done to abide in the knowledge. With this, we are going to stop the series of self-realization. I wish everyone a success in life, because this is the highest achievement that one can do in the life, because it's the very purpose of life itself. All other Success are only material which doesn't last anything, they are not permanent. This is the eternal, that Satyam, that abiding in that is the highest truth. That is the highest purpose of life itself. And the scripture says, the kulam pavitram janani krutartha visvambara punyavati chatena. The one who has realized the whole life clan itself is purified. Kulam pavitram janani krutartha. The mother is glorified because of the son who has realized. And Vishwa, the whole universe is realized because of a person who has realized. The whole universe is blessed because of the person realized. That is the glory of self-realization. With that, we'll stop this series, and I wish all the people the best of luck, and advise those who want to know, keep reading again or listening to the talks again until it becomes a natural where one can abide in that. With this, we stop here now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.